That feeling of I need to fit in, I need to conform is the exact reason we don't say I feel lonely. Because if no one else is saying it, you don't say it.
I can remember having him and feeling like, wow, everyone has lied to me. Motherhood is messy and actually it's not happy all the time. And I felt like there was something wrong with me. And I definitely felt myself sort of pull away from people.
We are the loneliest generation. We're lonelier than our mothers. They were lonelier than theirs. But it really is continuing to compound.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Happy Mum, Happy Baby, Parenting SOS. Today we're talking about something that so many mums experience but often find it really difficult to admit. Loneliness. A staggering 94% of mothers are impacted. That's according to research this year from networking app Peanut. So, how do we reach out, build community, and find our village in those moments we need it most? Someone who knows a thing or two about this is Michelle Kennedy, the brilliant founder of Peanut. Hello, Michelle.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good. Now, you've been on here before, but we were in the studio.
Have.
You've been on this before as, actually talking about you as a mum and your experience.
Yeah.
But now today we're talking about a topic that is actually really important to you and why you started Peanut in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, the truth of the matter is, it's a very uncomfortable thing to admit at any age that you feel lonely. No one wants to raise their hand and say, actually, I feel lonely. Sometimes it takes you a while to even identify that's what the feeling is, right? You kind of are in this period of time where you know that you can see other people together. And on top of that, you have a long period of time at home where maybe you actually haven't even heard your own voice all day, let alone the voice of another adult. So even if you have heard your own voice, it's in a slightly different high-pitched or baby voice. And all of a sudden you're like, can I hear my own voice? And what does that sound like again? So sometimes it takes a while to actually understand what you're feeling is lonely. And then on top of that, the admission of that takes some reconciling, because I think that comes with a feeling of guilt. I shouldn't feel lonely. Look at this perfect baby. I'm so lucky. And a little bit like, I don't want to feel lonely. That's not very cool. Or I shouldn't feel like that at my age. Or what am I doing wrong that means that no one else feels this way? So I think there's so many layers to loneliness.
And it's such a, when you have a baby, I think you go through such a massive change, a life change. Many of us will be out working, we're with people all the time. And all of a sudden it's you and your baby. And the world that you knew suddenly stops.
Totally changes. And you're meant to know what you're doing.
Yep.
So the fear of getting that wrong or admitting that you don't know what you're doing means that you feel lonelier again. So there's like all of these compounding issues where it's also quite confusing, because it is absolutely possible to feel the most elated you've ever felt because you've got this beautiful, wonderful moment, and the most frightened and the most isolated and the most frustrated. All of those things are possible at the same time. And so for some reason, it's not something that we've ever been able to really say. And I think that the problem actually, and as the research shows, it's actually just getting worse.
Really?
Yeah, I think that from a generational point of view, we are the loneliest generation. We're lonelier than our mothers. They were lonelier than theirs. But it really is continuing to compound.
Why do you think that is? Because in so many ways, like with, apps and social media and stuff, in some ways we are more connected, but not in a physical way. Is that why? Is it because, we can use those apps to meet up with people, but if we're just using, the tech, sometimes how important is that actually we use it to get into a room with someone?
Listen, the truth of the matter is, you can feel as connected as you like via apps, by doing things, by looking at people. But unless you're seeing people in real life, unless you're having that human connection, it is not going to really solve the issue. It might take you part of the way, but it won't take you the whole way there. And I think that why are we here and why are we like this? We've really changed how we live. We don't live how generations before us lived, when you lived next door to your mum, around the corner from your sister. your child was the entire street's child because everyone kind of looked after, and the kids were all playing out on the street and everyone knew and was keeping an eye on. That doesn't exist anymore. Plus, we live completely differently. So we live in these kind of very secular small boxes. We don't live in expansive community areas. The community element of how we live is really eradicated. So when you start to add all of those things together, what you have are people who are trying to live up to expectations and live a certain way, but have none of the communal support in order to feel supported, to get answers, to find reassurance. Even when we think about the definition of what an influencer is, in generations gone by, guess who was the influencer? It was mum. She was the one who knew the right builder. She knew who you needed to go to get the seamstress. She knew, who was single and who should be seeing each other. That was the role of mom. And I think that actually we've really lost all of those kind of societal roles, or they've changed without any of the infrastructure changing along with us.
I wonder if there's part of us almost shutting down because we have this expectation that you talked about, which I think is driven a lot by social media and these standards that we sort of put on ourselves. Which means that when we are out and about, it's almost a performative layer. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's the mums that you go, come on, darling, we don't do that. We don't do that at home. It's that kind of, and how lost that mum is actually in that moment when you hear that voice. But I wonder if
It's true.
if sometimes we are so hard on ourselves and find it so hard to show anything other than perfect, whether that's online, whether that's out and about, which means actually that we just find ourselves isolating ourselves more and more and more because we can't bear to be out of the situation.
Totally.
Even though we feel lonely, the pressure and the overwhelm of getting out and maybe our baby crying, maybe, our toddler having a tantrum, it just feels like such a massive thing to hurdle to overcome that we're just like, well, we shall stay indoors.
I couldn't have said it better, right? That feeling of like, I need to fit in, I need to conform, is the exact reason that we don't say, I feel lonely. Because if no one else is saying it, you don't say it. And more than that, if you then don't see all your different versions of motherhood represented, if you don't see yourself in any of those stories, you keep your own version very quiet. And that is very isolating and very lonely. So if you're a single mom and you're living a single mother experience and you don't see other women living a single mother experience, you don't share yours because that makes you different. And that's isolating. If you are someone who lives with your extended family, you live with your in-laws, you live with your wider family, and you don't see other women who are living in that same situation, again, it's very isolating because your feeling and experience is totally different. So we have to tell loads of stories.
Of being able to be in a room or in a house full of people but still feel lonely.
Absolutely. I mean, imagine, and you've got all these people and, for example, if you're in a situation where perhaps actually the relationship you have with your in-laws and extended family is not perfect, but that is how you're living. Well, that's very, very isolating. So I think that the challenge is making sure that we distinguish between what is perfection and almost what is editorial. That's okay. We don't look at a magazine. That's fine. We like the curated. We like the editorial. We like the highlights. And they should exist too. But also knowing that there is a whole other layer, and that's the real layer. And those are the real stories. And they're the stories that we need to amplify and tell more so that every woman sees themselves in those stories and says, oh, actually, I'm not different. Oh, it's fine.
When I started, I can remember having Buzz, so my eldest who's now 11 and just started secondary school. I can remember having him and feeling like, wow, everyone has lied to me. Like motherhood is messy and actually it's not happy all the time. And I felt like there was something wrong with me. And I definitely felt myself sort of pull away from people, but also feel really lonely. And I, most of my work back then, I write books. I was alone most of the time, but I was on my own in a world of characters. Now you're on your own with a baby, but you can't see past the tasks of the day that are never ending, and it's very, very different. And I can remember talking in a really honest way back then, and it being met with, we people don't talk about motherhood like that. And then you see a whole spike of other people doing it, and that's why this podcast exists. But it seems like we are constantly taking a step forward, but then there are new generations coming through who it's just not reached. So you're getting more and more people going, but why do I feel like this? Why am I lonely? Why do I feel like I'm the only one? And it's because we just maybe don't talk about it enough across generations.
It's exactly right. What happens is you have the kind of trailblazers, right?
Mm.
And someone comes out and says, actually, I'm just going to say no. It's not okay. This is how I'm feeling. This is the reality. And it can be wonderful and the worst all in the same
Yeah.
hour,
Yeah.
let alone in the same day, right? And then that doesn't become the good social currency anymore.
Mm.
And then we start to see these highlights. These are the standards now. This is what we're, and so that fades. New standards appear, and so the
Yeah.
women coming through, they never saw that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the responsibility that we actually all have is to share some honesty. Honesty doesn't mean misery, and
Yeah.
there is a
Yeah.
distinction, because that's, I think, a lot where people say, oh God, being so honest. No, honest means it was incredible,
Mm-hmm.
and this was absolutely awful, and this bit was terrifying, and this bit was the funniest thing that's ever happened, and sharing that whole thing, because the duality of motherhood is that it's so many different things all in one day.
Yeah.
And we expect women to go into that hospital, and you walk out with that baby in that car seat, and you don't know what you're doing. I remember standing with Finn, and I was like, I actually don't even know what to do. I don't know what to
Or
do.
who you are in that. Like, what is
100%.
your role? Like,
What's going on now?
yeah.
And I remember my husband taking a picture of me, and the face that I'm pulling is absolute terror. But and it's such a weird photo. I don't even like looking at it, because I remember the feeling. It gives me like a weird feeling in my stomach,
Yeah.
because I was like, I now have to take you home. And I put him on the table,
Mm-hmm.
and I looked at him, and I was like, what do I do now? What do
Yeah.
I do now? And I think so many women feel like that, and we don't help them and support them. And I think that's why we're seeing these scary statistics around loneliness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, on top of that, when people are reaching out, generally speaking, people are reaching out to cuddle baby, see baby,
Yeah.
how is everything? And if they
Yeah.
do even ask you about the birth, it's really like, how was the birth? But really what they're thinking is, can I just get a hold of that baby? And you're standing there. And actually, the one thing for me that I didn't want to do was let go of him. I actually
Yeah.
didn't want someone else to hold him. But what I needed was for someone to say, let me take him, and you
Mm.
do X, a bit of direction. Let me take him, and you go and shower. Let me take him, and you go and lie down for 10 minutes, whatever it might be.
Which would have happened years ago, generations ago, when your mum was around the corner or your nan, would be able to pop in. Other people would kind of take over. And I know that,
That's right.
nowadays, I'm sure many of us kind of go, God, they just came in and they took. But actually, I love it. I love it.
That's
Even
what,
now, we came back from holiday. My mum was
absolutely.
here. I'd put a load of washing on. The next thing I know, my mum's done all my washing. You know what I mean? And I didn't
Mhm.
ask her, but it's having those people in your life that just go, I'm doing it. This is what you're doing, and because I care for you, And it's so hard for us to kind of go, I need this, and to ask people for things.
And that's the village. The
Mm,
village that we once lived in, we all grew up in, our parents grew up in. That was the norm. That's what you
yeah,
had. And that is what we don't have anymore. We're really expected to be very independent,
yeah,
fully functioning,
yeah.
very independent, and then when we are greeted with a rhetoric of, oh yeah, but you've all got grandparents who help you with
Mm,
childcare. And it's like, actually, many of us don't, by the
yeah,
way. And if we are lucky enough to have some help with childcare, thank God, because nothing else exists for us, because we don't have a childcare system that's working properly for everyone. And the expectations are still there. Like, as
mm,
women, we're being expected to contribute economically more than we ever have in any generation gone before. And yet nothing's changed in terms of the infrastructure to support us. It's like, go and have the job, earn the money, have the baby. Nothing's going to change though, because we're still going to keep society like it was in the 60s. We just won't have you living like we did in the 60s, for
yeah,
example. What we really need is to have the power or the confidence to ask for help, because I think
Yeah.
we're not good at that.
No, we're not.
I don't feel able to ask for help. I don't even ask for help at work. So
Yeah.
I'm not good at asking for help. And yet, again, generationally, of course, we always had people around us asking for help. It was very normal to share the
Yeah.
responsibility and the burden and the load. And now it's so formal that we might call that, oh, we've got a nanny share, or and it's like, that's amazing. But actually, all you're doing is just trying to build community bonds that don't really exist anymore. And then on top of that, we've got a lot of noise. So if you've got children who are not at the infant stage, you've
Yeah.
got the WhatsApp groups, you've got the class emails, you've got all
Yeah.
of this kind of additional kind of labor that we're doing. We're
Yeah.
working everywhere. We're working in the home to manage those lives. We're working with baby to try and understand what they need. We're working to try and understand ourselves. We need to keep our relationship going. We need to be a good daughter. And there's so many layers to the expectations that we have. I think that is where being able to say, I need help,
Yeah.
completely, it bursts loneliness. Because guess what? We actually, at the heart of humanity, we like helping other people.
Yeah.
If anyone asked you for help, you wouldn't be like, oh. You'd be like, oh
No.
my God, my pleasure.
Yeah.
In fact, G, I remember seeing you at an event,
Yeah.
and I was at I was having a wobble. I was having a really bad
Oh.
time with Finn. And you just, no, there were loads of people around us, and you just sat down and you were like, tell me about it. And we spoke. And you were it was an amazing moment where I'll get emotional. But when I left you, I was like, she didn't have to do that, and you did. And that for me is exactly the point of the village, and having people in your life that care. And no one, if they see you in need, is going to be like, I'm actually at an event, I'm busy. They're going to be like, sit down, tell me about it, I want to help you.
But don't you
And
think
that's
there's also
important.
that thing of by being there and helping someone else, and I feel emotional, you help yourself in return. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of it's a loop.
Of course, because do you know what? Maybe it helps you understand something that you went through that was similar,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
maybe it helps you feel less alone, or maybe it helps you feel that you did something, like you've had a rubbish day, but you did something that actually meant something today. Any of those things,
It's funny,
and
isn't it? Because I
they're the
think when you're
things.
in a moment or in a situation with your child, you can feel really out of your depth. Then when you speak to someone else who's in a situation,
Yeah.
being able to give not advice but talk about it in a way that you know is helpful, that can come back at you in a way of
Oh, I am a good mum.
yeah.
Do you know what I always say? We say it a lot at work. Everyone is an expert in their own field.
Yeah.
And you just don't know that you are. And it's really
Yeah.
easy to be like, oh, I don't know, or oh God, I'm winging it. Yeah, you are, and we all are, but you actually are an expertise. And your expertise might be in giving really practical advice, or your expertise might be in the fact that you're actually just a really good listener. And you just listen. Or your expertise might be the fact that you're not really sure how to react to things make you a bit uncomfortable, but you know what, you'll always be practical to get out the house. Let's go, let's do something, let's get there. And all of those things are so important. But do you know what you can't do? You can't do it on your own.
Yeah.
And you have to have people around you. You have to start to build those connections in order to have that experience.
It's probably a good time to start asking you your most asked questions. So on Parenting SOS, I ask you your three most asked questions. And the first one is, describe what the phrase "it takes a village" means to you.
Well, it takes a village actually the phrase is, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
But for me, it takes a village to raise a mother. I had never been a mother until Finn landed in my arms. I didn't
Yeah.
know what that meant. I didn't know what that looked like. And I learned by osmosis. I learned by seeing some things while I was, kind of spying on people in the coffee shop to see what they were doing. I learned things by watching around me, by watching him, by seeing how I felt about things. And I couldn't do it on my own, in my bedroom, in my bed, all day, and it's very hard to get out of bed in the early days.
Yeah.
You can just about get them in and out of that crib to carry on feeding them, and then there's another feed, and then you've gone to the toilet and they're awake again. It's very, very hard. But in order to raise you as a mother, you have to be connected and seeing other people. So for me, it takes a village means it takes a village to raise a mother.
Next question. How has the village evolved, and have we become more isolated? We've kind of touched it, but...
Yeah. I mean, the village, I think the village can exist.
Yeah.
It's just DIY now. That's how it, and I think generationally, we were born into the village. We lived in the village. That it was around us. And now I think we have to help ourselves. We have to make it ourselves. And you can do it. It's daunting, and it feels, and also village feels huge. When I say the word village, I feel like people must be like, village. Village can be one.
Yeah.
You need one person in your village to make a massive, massive change.
Well, the third question, which is probably nicely led on to, which you're going into, I think, is how should mums build their village?
This is, do you know what? It's so hard to say it and not have a reaction, but I'm going to say you have to be brave. Be the one to do the smile, do the wave, ask someone for a coffee, do that thing. I am a very socially awkward person. If I can do it, you can do it. You can say those things. The first person who made a friend for me as a mum was my mum. She's not shy. She's Irish, and so is just out there. And saw another woman in a coffee shop near me and started talking to her. Mira became my absolute lifeline. And had my mum not done that, my experience would have been infinitely worse. So do it. Do the one thing, and it's scary, but it can totally transform your life.
I used to even if I wasn't going to, make a lifelong friend out of it, which came out of sort of baby groups and stuff, actually, but if I was out and about in parks, I couldn't help myself but say something to another mum. Do you know what I mean? It's that thing of, I just need to, I need to reach out in some way.
Yeah, we're connected. It's actually what you said at the start, when the mum uses the funny voice and you know what they're really going through.
Yeah.
It's when you're in the supermarket and there's a toddler on the floor having an absolute meltdown. And actually, you don't even want to look at the kid because all you want to do is squeeze the mum's arm and be like, it's okay. I'm here with you. And it's that feeling like you just taking that step. You don't know what it will mean to that other person either.
I guess the really important thing is to get out. To, join the baby groups, go to the coffee shop, and if you see someone, feel like you can reach out and speak to someone.
If you can, it is a really good goal. I used to set it for myself.
Yeah.
One time in the day to leave the house. And it's not easy. And actually, the more you're inside, the more you're inside. It's a really vicious cycle. But if you can do one thing to make you leave the house, amazing. That's what you need to do. And that's how important the village is. Because I tell you what, you might let yourself down, but you'll never let someone else down. You'll never do it. Yeah. You'll go because you can't bear the thought of her standing at the top of the street waiting for you to go for a walk around the block.
Yeah. It's also that I can remember someone saying to me years ago that sometimes that feeling of, when it's all overwhelming the house, the thought of getting out can be terrifying, and just like, this isn't working in here. How on earth is it going to work out there when people can see me failing?
Yeah.
But actually getting out of the house, it almost feels like a reset a lot of the time.
Do you know what? If you're anything like me, this is what I used to do. I had a pair of boots you could pull on, like an Ugg.
Yeah.
A baseball cap and a hoodie with a zip. Because you can even put pajamas. That's fine. That can all go over the top of pajamas. But then you can just get out.
Yep.
And once you're out and you're walking, you just need something to make you feel a little bit different. Put a podcast on, swipe on Peanut. Doesn't matter what. Go and do the thing, and it will change. It will lift that element of feeling like the loneliest girl in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to talk to you quickly about It Takes a Village, the book that you've put together. So the book is called It Takes a Village and Other Essential Truths About New Mothers. I have read it and I absolutely loved it. And I love the
Thank
fact
you.
that, like with Peanut, you have brought so many different mothers and their experiences together. It's beautifully woven when, kind of
Thank
going, oh,
you.
this person over this, and it's someone in America really far away, but you've realised that we're actually really connected in what we are all trying to do, which is just bring up happy children, but
Mhm.
not cause ourselves so much damage in the process, and also looking after ourselves. I absolutely loved it. I think you've done an
Thank
amazing
you.
job with it.
Thank you very much, Jay.
How does it feel knowing that that is going to be a further thing to help connect women?
I think that the book was really about curating some of the amazing stories that we see. I'm really privileged in the position that I sit in. I get to see what happens on Peanut every day. I get to
Yeah,
see these amazing stories. I get to see what these women do for each other and the advice they share and the honesty that they bring and the vulnerability and the
yeah.
humor. And I get to see it every day. And so really the book was about curating those stories so that
Mm,
we make sure every woman sees herself, all the different stories, whether that's culturally, whether that's where you live, whether that's how you choose to parent. All of those stories have to be captured. So it's not a book about baby. It's
yeah.
really only a book about mom.
Yep.
And it's just about that kind of conception to, the first year. And I think the most important thing for me is I can dip in and out of it. You don't have to
Yeah.
read that cover to cover. If you're in month 3, great, go there. If you're at the start again, you're thinking about trying to conceive again, go there. And so it was really about dipping in and out, and bringing experts. I'm not an expert. That's not the bit that I do. So making sure that there is someone who is an expert who can say it's normal.
Yeah.
It's going to, here's what's happened here. Factually is what's happening to your body right now. And you should
Hmm.
know that. And that was really important.
It's absolutely brilliant, and it does. I think even if someone was to hand this book to a new mum, to kind of even that seeing the fact it takes a village whilst it's being handed over, you're just like, "Oh, there's a bit of understanding there, even with that."
Yeah, it's it honestly it is, and I think everyone who writes books says this. So I'm aware it sounds trite, but it's what I wished I'd had when I had Finn.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I really just wanted to know what other women were doing. That's all. Is it
Mhm.
is it normal? Really just means, are you all doing the same as me?
Yeah.
And because we all have different types of normal, it was important just to represent that.
I don't think it sounds trite at all. And I think actually great books come from that. There needs to be a purpose for the book. There needs to be a why. And so often I think we find ourselves in moments where you kind of wish you had not a manual, but something to read that was kind of give you what you need. So I don't think it sounds trite at
Thank
all.
you.
I think there's a reason. And, books are best when they come from a why.
The
So
heart,
well done.
that's true. Thank
Yes.
you very much. Thank you too.
We have some questions from the community. Someone has said, I'm finding it harder as a third time mum. Everyone is either a first timer or already
Oh,
has a village. Of course, that doesn't mean I can't be friends with first time mums. It's just we're at different stages. Any advice?
really, really tough.
Mm,
I also experienced something similar when I had Nula. I've got quite a big age gap between my kids.
yeah.
So everyone that I was meeting who was a new mum, I was like, well, my son is 6. So it felt like quite a different experience. So I
Yeah.
do understand what that feels like. Um, I think that there are some obvious moments, right? Anyone who has more than one child is infinitely going to be more in your boat than someone who's on their first time experience.
Yeah.
And there are ways to find those women, Peanut, other products, where you can see that, okay, you're a mum of more than one. So I
Yeah.
think that there's nothing wrong with zoning in on someone who has more than one. Um, and I think actually, again, being out there, being at the groups, being at the football practice, it's amazing how many people you then start to see while you're doing the other clubs. And it's very hard. I appreciate when you've got 3 and you're doing dance class and football and karate and whatever, and you've got the newborn. I do understand that, but
Mm.
I think just hanging out outside, being in the park, it will amaze you. Like being around people, say yes to the events, go to a Peanut meetup. There are women who are in the same position as you.
And you don't have to force yourself to be friends with someone who just doesn't quite click, who makes you feel,
No.
less than, there can be a first time mum who completely has the same outlook as you or just makes you feel great. And that's who you want to be with. You don't want your tribe, your village, whatever it is, it shouldn't be filled with people who make you feel crap.
Absolutely. And by the way, they don't all have to look identical, right?
Yeah.
Actually, what really makes the world go round is variety,
Yeah.
difference, points of difference, celebrating difference. So you don't have to be looking for the exact mirror to you.
Yep.
You can actually just be looking for people who also want to talk about the Kardashians or whatever your thing is.
A nice little break from talking about how much people have slept, basically.
That, for example.
Yeah. Another question is, how do you navigate a village that is only available outside working hours?
Yeah, that one, listen, there is absolutely nothing like having another woman who is at the same stage as you.
Yeah.
It is really, really game changing. And I say that because you might have the most incredible support network, but during the day, 3 p.m. Wednesday afternoon, loneliest girl in the world. I've been
Yep.
there. I know what it feels like. It is very, very isolating.
And a reminder of the life that you used to have,
that you're not
everyone
having.
else is still doing.
Absolutely. And the silence at those moments feels really, really loud. I remember when Finn was going through the 2-hour nap. Those days. And you would sit there and I'd be like, what should I do now? Because I haven't got anyone to talk to. And that is really hard. Cohort groups of women who have babies in the same month that your baby was born in will change your life. That is the absolute, it's game changing. You'll find them on Peanut, you'll find them on other products, but join that group. Those women, they're the same. They're doing the same thing. And some of them are, back in the office, and some of them are working at home like you are with your baby. And that's what you need.
Yeah. And even if those, I think with people like that as well, there's an understanding of what that friendship starts as. You know what I mean? We know that we're in this at the same time and we know what we are to each other.
Yeah.
But actually, I think there's something very special about creating friendships in that time where it's a very different type of vulnerability that you maybe don't actually show anyone else in your life. Maybe it's not, you don't feel like it's not right to do it there, or you don't want to. Whereas there's something about meeting people in that time and actually really sharing that just, creates bonds like no other.
Totally. It's really hard to explain to someone else who isn't in it at that moment,
Yeah.
the mundanity, right? And it feels like a terrible thing to say, but it is mundane. It can be mundane. That, by the way, doesn't mean that you don't think that your child is the most incredible thing that's ever existed on earth. Of course you do. But there are moments where you've been doing the same thing, the monotony of it.
Yeah.
And it's quiet and it's boring. And, you need to be with someone else who's in that space, because you just need to laugh about it, talk about anything but it. That's what you really need.
Yeah, you do. It goes back to being brave, doesn't it? Like you said earlier, you need to be able to step out of where you are, which I think when you're in it, when you're feeling lonely, it can be really difficult to kind of take that leap. It kind of feeds itself a little bit, like a depression, I guess. It's very hard to kind of take that leap and go, no, I'm going to push myself out and to see where I can make those connections.
Look, it's human nature that we avoid any situation where we are likely to get rejection or hurt. And we also love routine. We're creatures of habit. So if you've been doing one thing, whether it's good or bad for you, you will continue to do that one thing.
Yeah.
So being brave enough to break that, it's extremely hard. I'm going to break the routine of safety, and I'm going to put myself in a position where I might be vulnerable for a second. That's two quite big steps, but the reward is so big for doing it.
Breaking the routine, then, that makes me think of how when they're newborns, how you try and get the routine started.
Oh, God.
And you're like, it's very hard to kind of break out of the idea that your baby might be able to sleep somewhere else. I can remember setting up a chair like a feeding chair, right? And my midwife came over, or the health visitor, and she was like, okay, but what if you're downstairs? What? I was like, huh?
Why would I be anywhere other than right here?
I'm going to live here for the foreseeable, am I not? But it is hard when in those first few weeks you've kind of set up, not that anyone knows what they're doing, because I really don't think you do. I don't think the baby does. I think things are continuously changing. Then teething happens and that throws everything out the window. But it can be very hard to step out of what you have set up to try and make it a little bit easier.
Because you were trying to get control.
Yeah.
Because of the one thing that we can't do is control these little people, right? They're tiny
Yeah.
little people and they have their own agenda. And all of a sudden, you're like, well, I can't control anything that's happening with you. So the only thing I can control are the little kind of my environment
Mm-hmm.
or the way I am going to approach things or the things that I'm definitely going to do every day.
Yeah.
The challenge I set for everyone is to say, can you make one of those things that you do every day be good for you, not just
Yeah.
good for baby? And that's really hard. But if you can, again, the rewards are so big.
We can catastrophize situations as well. You know, the idea of going out. Well, what if my baby cries? What if I need to feed them? And or we can, there's or what if there's a like there's so many things that we can put in our heads that
Yeah.
well not that come into our heads that can stop us from stepping out.
The what if my baby cries is such a like vivid memory because I remember my mum trying to get me to walk to Starbucks
Yeah,
and I said, what if he cries? And she looked at me like it was the most unbelievable, unreal statement I'd ever made. She looked at me and she went, right. And I said, but then people will think, and she said that he's a baby. But in my head, that isn't what people would think. They would think that I don't know what I'm doing because really what I felt was I don't know what I'm doing.
I think that's a generational thing as well. I think so many women our age would go, yeah, absolutely, I felt that. And so many women your mum's age probably go,
Yeah,
well, yeah. You know what I mean? It's
babies
such
cry.
yeah. Whereas being held at a different standard, putting things on ourselves, it makes us go, I will, people will judge.
People judge me. It can make me really anxious now to even think about
Yeah.
some of the things that I would think that were going to happen if if he did something. I must tell you, I didn't feel like that with my daughter. All
Really?
those years later, I felt much more like if she cries, she
She
cries, or
cries.
and I did feel much more. But I was a bit older. I'd
Yeah.
already had Finn. He was older. I had the app. So I already felt like I was
Mm-hmm.
seeing the stories, the real stories all the time. So I think that my experience was much different. But that just goes to show how important it is to speak to other women about their
Yeah.
experience, because then you do start to feel like, okay, I can cope with this. It's going to
So
be
what's the
fine.
worst that's going to
What's the
happen?
worst?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another question. People say, always here if you need anything, but they aren't proactive to arrange to meet up. That's hard. Always
That
here.
is
If you need
hard.
anything, just
Let me
ask.
know.
Yeah.
Let me know
Yeah.
what I can do to be helpful.
Yep.
I'm here. Terrible one. So okay, we already said it, but we've got to ask.
Yeah.
People actually do want to be asked. I had one person, I told my friend this last night, who when I had Finn, she wasn't close. We weren't close.
Mm.
She came to my door and in this little bag, she had a mirror. She was like, put that next to your bed. You're not going to be able to go to the bathroom to look in the mirror. A mirror. I think there was some cowpole. It was like, they were very like unusual things.
Yeah.
And she said, I'd like to hold him while you go and have a shower. And I looked at her and I didn't really want to give him. And she
Yeah.
said, I know how to hold a baby for 10 minutes. And I went and I had the shower and I came back and she gave me Finn back and she left.
Mm.
That was it. No real conversation, nothing really. And I was like,
And she
no,
didn't set up a time
not.
or anything that she was coming over. Because that's it as well, right? If someone says, I'll come over at 11, we all know what that's like. That's a frantic trying to make
The
everything look good, make
pressure.
you look good. Has the baby napped? Has the baby been fed? Because I don't want to get my boob out in front of this person. All these
Have I got
things.
milk? Have I
Yeah.
got any biscuits? Can I
Yeah.
feed them? Like,
Yeah.
can I give you tea? I remember when I had Finn making so many cups of tea
Yeah.
for other people. That's weird.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's weird.
Yeah.
Can you go and get me a drink? And by the way, everyone loves to be given a job.
Yeah.
So this woman coming to my house who was older than me to take my baby, to give me direction of what to do, to then just leave, was absolutely remarkable.
Yeah.
So I think if everyone is saying, let me know how I can help, and they don't follow up, you can say, it'd be great if you came over tomorrow.
Yeah.
It would be really helpful if you could bring me X.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had time to cook this week. If you're making a lasagna and you want to whip me one up, I'd love that.
Yeah.
Everyone will be delighted to be given a job.
Yeah.
And you know that that's true, because imagine if it was you and someone actually asked you for something they needed, you'd be thrilled.
Absolutely. I think we can easily fall into, oh, I won't, you're busy. I won't, I won't.
I won't bother you.
Yeah.
And what's the worst? They say, I can't come tomorrow. Can I come Wednesday?
Yeah.
Or can I come tonight? All right.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Do it.
Be
Do
brave.
it.
Put yourself out
Be
there.
brave and ask.
Yeah.
Ask for help.
And there, I know we said at the start of this about loneliness and how we've actually got to go and meet people. But when you are feeling like that is so big,
Yeah.
you have to use the things that are there.
Yeah.
Use the online communities. Use
Absolutely.
that. Use it, knowing that you're using that to get you out.
Absolutely.
It's to get you through the dark
And that's
nights.
what it's there for.
Yeah.
That's that you're never ever on your own. Even when you feel like the loneliest, you're not on your own. You just have to look. You're not on your own.
Michelle, I end the podcast with you completing a couple of sentences.
Love it.
The first one is, if I could tell you one thing, it would be.
Do the thing. Be brave. Ask the question. Say hi. Wave. Smile. Do the thing that means that you put yourself out there, because the reward is huge.
And I'm happy when?
I'm with my kids.
Oh.
I love my kids. They're amazing. They're so naughty, but they're so lovely.
Michelle, I love everything that you do, and I love that you have taken so anyone that doesn't know about you, you've taken your expertise in, creating apps like Bumble, or working with apps like Bumble, and everything you know about community in that space, and you've taken it to mums, and that is so wonderful, because I know how many mums you've helped in a time where so many feel lonely and depleted and lost. You've really you've given people a way of connection, so I hope everyone just keeps building on what you've already given them.
Thank you so much. Love you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank
Thank you.